Hey guys, this is Sensei at Game Over, and I'm just going to make this short video because I want to show you guys some of the things we got in for this week for DC Comics. Now, my Marvel Comics, I will do a video tomorrow to showcase those, but I'm just going to show a few of the DC Comics that we got in this week, just in case some of you guys are interested. I know we don't have a lot of people coming in for comics. As much as I would like anyway. We do have a few regulars that come in to buy comics, but I think a lot of people don't really know or understand comics. And I'll talk a little bit about that at the end of this video. And hey, how's it going? That's my buddy right there. Alright, or at least I'm assuming this is Charlie on his mom's account, on his mom's phone or whatever, or Facebook or whatever you're looking at me on. But if that is Charlie, how you doing, Charlie? Alright, so some of the comics that we got in this week, and then I'll talk a little bit more about comics at the end. It's good to hear from you, Charlie. Alright, and the titles of these are going to be backwards because I haven't quite figured out how to do the mirrored image thing or whatever. But I'll read the title so you'll know, but you can at least see the cover of what we got in. So this is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, number 1 of 8. We got this in today. If you're a Superman fan, we got in Superman Red and Blue. I'm not a Superman fan, and way back when they had the whole Red and Blue Superman ordeal, and some of you may not know this, but that wasn't the first time Superman split into red and blue. Way back, probably in the 60s, I think. They did an episode, or not an episode, an issue, or maybe a couple of issues, where Superman split into red and blue. I think I have that somewhere, unless I'm imagining. I saw that in my collection somewhere, but again, I'm not a Superman fan. We also have Nightwing number 81. And I didn't order very many copies of this Nightwing, sadly, because not many people come in to buy Nightwing here, unfortunately, but I'm hoping to change that. In this issue, there is, I think, a new character introduced, from what I understand. But I only have a couple of issues of these, and they might be gone before you get here. But I'm going to try to get some more issues of this in. So just bear with me on that. We've got the DC Pride cover of Truth and Justice, number 5, I believe. Yes, Truth and Justice number 5. This is the DC Pride cover. And again, only a couple of issues of these. And, well, I'll talk more at the end about my ordering practices. This is the regular cover of Truth and Justice number 5. Also with Batwoman on the cover. If you guys haven't seen the Batwoman show, by the way, it's a really good show. Well, it's way better than I expected. I'll just put it that way. Alright, we've got the the Batman Fortnite 0 Point cover, or issue. We've got the cover B of Batman Fortnite 0 Point. And unfortunately, I have to do one copy per customer for those. Here is the Nightwing DC Pride cover. Again, only ordered a couple of issues of these, a couple of copies. And let's see, Punchline says it's the first full appearance of the villain Heartless in Nightwing. Thank you for that, Punchline. And Miles says, I like that B cover a lot. The art style is cool. It's very cool on that B cover. And I don't know why they didn't do this for the main cover, but you're right, Miles, that is a very good artwork and a good cover. Let me see if I can let people see it up close. But I do like that. that art style as well. All right, Flash 771 in this week. And here's one that I'm surprised a lot of people didn't jump on. The Legends of the Dark Knight. This is issue number 2. I didn't have many people coming in for issue number 1 for some reason. Maybe people don't know that I'm here, even though it's been like almost 8 years. Actually, June 13th was my 8th year anniversary for Game Over. I didn't even realize that until just now. I might have to do a celebration. All right, Catwoman number 32. At first glance, I thought that was Anarchy, but I haven't read the issue, so I don't think it looks like Anarchy a little bit. Yeah, definitely, Miles, bring them by for sure. All right, I got some more copies of the Crush and Lobo Pride cover. I got a few more copies of that in, but that's not really new. Here's one that's going to surprise a lot of people. He's back. Static. Milestone Comics is bringing back Static and Icon and Rocket, and maybe a few more if I'm not mistaken, but a lot of people, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't want this blast from the past. I got a feeling this is going to go pretty quickly, so make sure you get your copy. We've got Scooby-Doo in. Who can't remember, or who could forget Scooby-Doo, the Scooby-Doo TV show that I grew up on. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Number 110 came in. And then DC Represent, issue 1. All right, now that's just a few of the comics that we got in this week. And so let me just say that a lot of people have a misconception about buying comic books. Because everybody thinks that if you don't get the first issue, then you might as well not get any of the issues for that series because you're not going to know what's going on. And I say to you, au contraire, mon frère, is quite the opposite. Because, again, if you don't, I want people to understand that if you don't get, if people, if the comic industry went by that rule, all right, if they went by the rule that if you don't get all the issues beginning from number 1 and up, then there's no point in getting comics. Could you imagine what would happen to the comic book industry? Because sometimes, and for some people, it's almost impossible to get every single issue. And when you do, sometimes when you have to go back, it can be quite expensive because, of course, for a lot of comics, the older they are, the more expensive they are. And that's not for every comic, by the way. For those of you who come into me with comics to sell, and you think because you have some old comics, you're going to get a lot of money out of me, that's not how that works. There are things called key issues, and I digress for a second. There are things called key issues that are worth a lot of money. And some old comics, even though they're not key issues, are worth a lot of money. For example, the lower issues of like some of the old comics, like Avengers, of course, Justice League, Batman, Detective Comics, Superman, all those lower issue comics are going to be more expensive. But not every old comic is expensive. And so, like Justice League International, for example, just because you have some old Justice League International comics, like from the 80s, that doesn't mean they're going to be expensive. The point is, how do I reach people and let them know what kind of comics we have in, and help you understand that it's okay to jump in? Because what I normally tell people is that, like, if I meet you, I don't have to know your whole back history to be friends, right? Hopefully you're not crazy if I meet you, but I don't have to know your whole back history to become friends. So with comics, it's like episodes in a show. Well, in like the old TV series, for example. Let me take an old one that I used to watch, like Sanford and Son, right? So if I turn on Sanford and Son and I watch an episode, I'm still gonna laugh, and I'm still gonna, enjoy the show. But that doesn't mean I need to see every single episode of Sanford and Son before I watch that episode, right? Because it's a story within a story. So comics are stories within a story, and if people look at it from that aspect, it'll make much more sense, and it'll allow you to be able to enjoy some comics and story and art that you normally wouldn't enjoy because you thought that you had to buy all the issues before you read that one. Now, there are some stories within comics that might span like 3, 4, 5, 6 comics. That's true, but that doesn't go for every single comic. All right, sometimes they do a story that might last like 3 issues, and those are easier to find, but unless they're popular, then they're harder. But my point is, even if let me give you another example. City of Bane. City of Bane was a story within the Batman comics that I loved. It was a great story, and it was awesome. And I didn't realize it was awesome until I read an issue. And so I did go back and read all the other issues, but I still enjoyed that issue, and that issue made me want to read the other issues. But if I hadn't read the other issues, I still would have enjoyed that issue. So again, you don't have to buy every single comic in a series, or in a series. You can jump in and still enjoy a story. Now, having said that, let me say this. I've gotten to the point where I've had to order less comics because of that. Well, that being one of the reasons, because people think they can't just jump in. And I also have well, I'm going to do a kind of like a series on this at some point. But just some of the things, like, for example, parents who won't let their kids read comics because they think they're too violent, or because they're worried about the content. But some of the movies that kids watch are just as bad with violence, or even some of the cartoons are just as bad with violence. So think about all the Roadrunner shows where the coyote gets blown up, or he falls off a cliff, or he gets cut in half, or he gets chopped up in little pieces, or he gets hit by a truck, or he crashes from a plane, his parachute doesn't work, or he tries to use a rocket and the rocket blows up, or the rocket shoots him up to the moon. All of that is violence. All of that is violence, and all of that stuff we grew up with as kids. So I'm not saying that violence is okay. I'm just saying that if we raise our kids right and teach them right from wrong and good from bad and so on and so forth, then for the most part they'll be okay. You've got other elements, of course, that are going to come into play, like society, but we grew up, if you grew up watching that stuff and you turned out okay, trust that your kids are going to turn out okay. Trust that if you let your kids go climb a tree, they may fall and get hurt, but so did we, right? So did we. Or we may not even have fallen and gotten hurt. Okay? But I just want people to think about those things. And also, I'm going to address this to the African American community, because this is really important to me as an African American male, or I'm just going to say a black male. As a black man, all right, I'm just going to say this because I don't have very many people of color coming into the store to buy comics. And there are some great comics for people of color. And the reason I say that, and you guys know me, those of you who do know me, you know I'm not racist. You know I adopted 4 kids who were Caucasian. And so obviously I'm not racist. But anyway, for the African or the black community, we don't really have a lot of heroes to look up to, okay? A lot of our heroes in the comics are just now coming to light like movies and things like that. However, there still aren't that many. But in the comic book realm, there are a lot of superheroes for kids to read. And I'm not just talking about black kids, for white kids to read and look up to as well. Or people in general, not just kids, but people in general. For people to look up to. Now, I know it sounds kind of nerdy, and I'm rambling probably a little bit. I know it sounds kind of nerdy, but even me as a kid and now an adult, I grew up reading comics. And through comics, I developed some of my morals. Like, for example, Batman, who refuses to kill under any circumstances. That is like an extremely high moral, right, that he has. He would risk his own life in order to make sure somebody else didn't die. Or he would take people's mental health into consideration, like the Joker, for example, who he won't kill no matter how much he wants to, but he refuses to because he doesn't want to become the Joker, right? So morals like that. Spider-Man, who was at one point a poor college kid or a poor young kid or young adult who, even though he didn't have money, studied and used his intelligence to become, to create things to assist him, like his web shooters and the web sealer. Or the fact that he was sacrificing his own life, even though he himself was struggling and suffering. So just morals like that, you can get through osmosis, I guess, just in reading comics. So in short, reading comics is okay. Reading comics is okay. And I do have some kids comics. I do have a kids section and a teen section that is more geared towards kids. But I'm going to say it again, reading comics is okay, as long as it doesn't have the adult stuff in it. Like the sexual adult stuff, and that's different. But learning to protect people, learn to defend, learning to use judgment based on good morals. All of that is in comic books. All of it. Storm, Black Panther, Static, Icon and Rocket. I forget some of the others, but all of these African American or black superheroes that our kids can look up to and model after, all of that is a good thing. So yeah, game over. Come and try out some comics. Come and buy some comics. Come and check out what we had in stock. Let me see what I can get for you. And Luke Cage, thanks Miles. And there's a lot of others. Miles got my back right there. Thanks Miles. Yeah, Luke Cage, Power Man himself. Just so many people and so many heroes and so much positive and goodness that you can get out of comics. All right. But anyway, come to Game Over. Come check it out. Come read some comics or buy some comics. No reading in the store unless you buy first. But come check it out, see what we got, and let me help you pick out some comics. All right. So this is Sensei, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Hanging out at Game Over, and feel free to ask any questions if you have any. Also check out my Twitch, Sensei Stokes. for my gaming and other videos like this. Excuse me. And hopefully I'll see you guys soon. All right, Sensei, from Game Over, and I'm out.